going to do a video here on non-OE size tires for the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. I've been getting hundreds of emails since I posted my Alfa content when I got the car back in October. A lot of people are complaining about the courses. They are blowing them out. They're getting bubbles in the sidewalls from potholes. It's too racy of a tire for daily driving, and I have to agree, especially in New York, it's definitely not the most appropriate tire. It's not that good in the rain. Below 45-degree weather, you fly right off the road. Also, on my particular car, especially where I live in the New York City area, I'm going into a lot of industrial areas lately. The gravel and the construction is out of control, and it's just kicking all the rocks up, damaging my calipers, my rims, the underbelly tray, everything. It's just absolutely becoming a nightmare. So the question remains is, there aren't many options for ultra high performance tires in the OEM sizes. So here's what we got, and I'll throw some pictures up. We have the Bridgestone SO4 pole positions. Bridgestone SO4 is an outstanding tire. I've had them on cars before. For the money, that is probably going to be the best option for anybody that's going to drive the car on the street normally and push it a little bit harder. It's not going to do us well at full limit or on the track as it would with the Michelin or the courses. Now, the other option now is the Pilot Super Sport. Two things are an issue with the Pilot Super Sport. Number one, they cost more money than the courses and the Michelin Pilot P4Ss. Number two, the 285/30 R19 for the back of the car is a stretched look when it's mounted on the rim. I know I've had that same size tire on my E63 AMG and on my 2012 CTS-V, which I personally don't like aesthetically. Aesthetics to me are important when you're playing around with tires. Some tires just don't seem to work. Now, we got the Corsa option as well. I'm not a Continental fan. I'm not even going to discuss those tires. I personally hate all Continental tires. I don't like the steering response. I don't like the braking. I don't like the handling. I just don't like Continental tires to begin with. So now we move on to the latest and greatest Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. The problem is they do not make the rear size OEM size. So what guys are doing, and they're posting it on the forums, they're doing a 295/30 19. Theoretically, it's supposed to only be 10 millimeters wider. Well, here's some photos now where we took a stock Corsa with the 4S side by side. When you take a tape measure and you measure the difference between a stock Corsa 285/30 19 and a 295/30 19, on the tape measure it's an inch and an eighth bigger than the stock Corsa. Now, not all manufacturers make their sizing the same. The Corsa tire is a smaller scale of a 285/30. They did that because this car has a lot of tolerances inside the wheel wells because it's so tightly manufactured for aerodynamics. The more space you have inside the wheel well, the more turbulence you're going to have with air, and it's going to cause the car to become unstable. So this particular car is very, very particular what tires you put on it. Now, I had the OEM sized Michelin Pilot Alpines for the winter, and those tires rubbed in the rear and in the front at full lock because that tire is a little bit oversized. So let me get the camera off the tripod. I'll show you what we got going on here. I wanted to show you guys for reference what we got here. So this is a 20 by 11 inch wheel. Now with the 20 by 11 inch wheel, the 295/30 20 fits like a glove. That's the situation with the Alfa Romeo factory wheels. Now my technical wheels in the rear of the car are 19 by 10. So on the scale of the tires of the P4Ss, they recommend a rim width of 10.5 to 11. That's the range for a 295/30. The shoulder is nicely contoured, and it comes down, and it has the little bit of a protection edge guard here, which is built into the design of the tire. And it just looks good. It's got a nice low profile. It's got a nice sculpted, rounded shoulder blocks, and it just looks awesome on my GT350. Now, when we go over to the tires that I ordered here for the Alfa Romeo, this has a much fatter sidewall, if you can see that there. And what's concerning me is that with the 10-inch wide wheel, this portion is going to overhang this portion where the beads are going to seat, or it's going to suck in, just like I'm showing you here, and it's just going to make the tire look really, really funky. So I'm just going to show you guys for a quick test. We're going to run over to my buddy's shop right now. Yeah, I don't know. You see, like, I have like 2.5 degrees negative camber, and I put spacers to bump it out even more. I'm just concerned that when the car squats, it's going to hit the fender liner.
You're going to find out.
Done. bulge to it.
Yeah, it's too wide for the room.
This is what I was concerned about visually, aesthetically. You can see here, it might be tougher to see in the video, but I'm going to tell you in person that the bulge here aesthetically doesn't match the nature of this car. No European high-performance car has a muscle car look when it comes to the tires. Now, this bulge reminds me of when you're putting some Nitto or Mickey Thompson drag radials on your GT500, GT350, Camaro ZL1, or whatever. That bulge makes sense. That bulge is kind of appropriate to the nature of those type of cars. I personally hate it. I don't like the way this looks. Visually, it's obvious that when anybody looks at this, the rim is too small. Anybody that knows cars and knows about this stuff is going to basically say, yeah, the rim is definitely too small. And I'm just trying to get some different angles to show you guys, because this has been a question that everybody keeps emailing me about OEM tires. Everybody wants to buy the Pilot 4S, but they don't come in OEM sizes. And here's another thing to consider. My car's lowered. I also have negative 2.5 degrees camber in the back. I also have a 5mm spacer. I also have a larger spacer in the front. So the situation is, I'm actually planning on taking some of the rear camber out, because on the street, I just think it's a little excessive, and it's also going to reduce your contact patch when you're launching the car hard. So the situation with that is I have some custom arms that I ordered, and I'm just waiting to have some time to put them in when they get here. And we're going to take some of the negative camber out of the back. So that's also going to pose another issue, because the clearance inside the carpeted fender well is that at complete compression of the suspension, there's a good chance that this is going to rub on my particular car. Pirelli Corsa tire with the spacer lowered, and I think it looks great. It's got a real racy look. It's got a nice streamlined sidewall, and like I said, if it wasn't for the gravel and it wasn't for having a more practical tire, I don't think I would have ventured into doing this. But we're gonna get this thing bolted on the car. I'm gonna settle the suspension. I'm gonna stick my hand in there. I'm gonna get some close-ups to see how it looks, but you guys are gonna be the judge of that. Anybody that's got the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, because this is going to be an important thing, especially if you guys are doing lowering springs. All right, guys, before we get started, I took off the driver's side rear wheel. Now, this is the area that's concerning me, is the way the wheel well is designed. It's molded and then it bumps out. And there's not much modification you could do here because of the bracing between the mount of the rear bumper to the flange on the bottom of the quarter panel, because there's screws that screw up to keep that anchored. So we're gonna have an issue, I feel, with a contact point here. Okay, we're also gonna probably have an issue with a contact point here, which is probably a control sensor for the adaptive shocks on the car. Also, you also have to worry about the inside of the edge of the tire bumping into your shock body. And if you see here, there are some lines and stuff over here for the fuel, and there's just no room to go in there and heat this up and kind of bend and manipulate and create your clearances. The way this car is designed, it is so aerodynamically efficient, there's just no room to kind of deviate with a lot of this stuff without having to do a hell of a lot of modifications. I'm not really willing to cut and remove this and custom make anything. To be honest with you, it's just not worth it. Not for a particular type of tire you want to run on the car. So let's get this thing thrown on the car, get it settled down, and I'll show you guys how it looks. You see how it's poking out? I don't like that. That's going to cause rocks to kick up. That's going to be a problem, especially from where I'm driving and living in New York. Now, guys with the Shelby GT350Rs, that fitment does poke out a little bit. A lot of guys like that for the track, but like I said, this is my daily driven car. I personally don't like the muscle car look on an Italian designed little super sedan that I got here. It makes the rim look a little bit smaller, and I think the bulge is pretty obvious the more you look at it. This is definitely going to be a concern for a lot of guys that want to do this tire. You see that right there? Look at the way that's poking out past the fender well. That's because the tire is too large for the rim and the offset of the rim, and it's causing it to overhang past the body lines of the car. This was definitely worth the test. I want to thank Jerry for lending me one of his spare wheels to get this thing mounted, and this definitely saved me a lot of hassle, because you know, when you start mounting and balancing and road force matching these tires, it's a lot of hours of labor. You got to worry about damaging the rims. It's just time and money, and to be honest with you, I wasn't really sure if this was really where I wanted to go with it. So to conclude this video, this is what's going to happen. I'm pretty much going to keep the Pirelli courses right now. I'm going to have to accept the trade-off of the gravel and the poor traction below 45 degrees and also the wet weather traction, but hopefully I'll burn them up quick. And I think if I swap the tires, I may do the Bridgestone SO4s. I think it's probably going to be the best bet as far as the street tire goes. And I think for the money, my cost on those things is well under $1,000 for the complete set. So that's pretty much where I'll go. Hopefully Michelin is, like I said, they're still dragging their feet coming out with new tire sizes for the new 4S line. And I don't know what the hell's taking so long, because a lot of OEMs are now switching over to this tire. The Pilot Super Sport is an older tire and it's trying to be superseded. But without having the OEM sizes in this particular car, I don't think this is a particular option that you want to go with. Hey, I mean, like I said, if you guys are going to the drag strip, yeah, this will probably work, but having the tire overhang is definitely going to affect the handling. I don't really love the aesthetic. It's too muscle car-esque for the nature of this particular car. So, like I said, if you guys want to go with the bigger look, go for it. You know, the 4S is a great tire, but my car's lowered. I'm driving in a New York City area in some pretty bad areas, and the last thing I need is to have at full compression is to have something hit, because this is definitely going to hit. I could feel it. I could definitely feel it right here. So besides poking out, you're also going to risk throwing rocks and damaging your paint. So my suggestion to anybody out there, stick to the OEM sizes as best as you can. The viable options are get yourself a new set of courses if that's what you love. Pick up or take a look at the Bridgestone SO4 pole positions. Outstanding tire for the street. I think you guys are really going to love it. And if you want to get the next best thing from the 4S, just buy the Pilot Super Sports. Yes, it's an older tire. It's going to have a little bit of a stretch sidewall on the back of the car, which may not look good for the guys that are 2018, 2019 with the higher ride height. But if you guys are lowered, you probably could get away with that. And that's pretty much probably where I'm probably going to go with it. If the 4Ss don't come out in other sizes, I'm probably just going to do a set of Pilot Super Sports, call it a day. It's a great tire, very fast steering, very good response, and it's going to be a much more practical tire. The problem with the Super Sports, they just don't last long. After you hit about 3,000 to 5,000 miles of driving the car hard, they get really greasy, they slide around a lot, they're really hard to hook up, and they're also not the greatest tire in the rain, which is why the 4S was developed. And there's a lot of Formula One and race technology that went into those compounds in a new design, but it is what it is. I have them on my Shelby. I love them. So stay tuned for more content on the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. I'm going to be doing a very detailed ownership update video. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me for months, how's the car holding up? Anything break down? What are your thoughts on it? Will you buy it again? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned to that video. I'm going to give you guys a hell of a lot of information, and I think it's going to change a lot of you guys that are on the fence that are looking at this car and cross-shopping it with other cars, because stay tuned for that. You're going to see it soon. So please like, subscribe, and share. Go to my website, auto-fanatic.com, and I'm going to do a full, more detailed story on this tire situation on the Automotive Lifestyle News section. I'll see you guys soon.